You think you understand women, then pause for a second and try to answer what sounds like a simple question. What's the one place on her body she wants you to touch the most, but has never said out loud? This isn't a question for the clever. It's for the quiet, for the ones who know how to observe without reaching, who feel deeply without words, who understand that the answer is never found in skin, but in emotion and presence. Most men learn how to touch a woman's body, but very few ever learn how to touch her trust, her safety, her unspoken longing. For many, intimacy begins with the physical, but the truth is, it starts long before that. It begins with how you look at her, how you enter a room, how you sit next to her without needing to fix the silence, how your stillness makes her feel held, even when you haven't laid a finger on her. I once witnessed a moment like that. A friend of mine, not someone naturally expressive, sat quietly beside his wife after she had surgery. He didn't say anything, didn't try to comfort her with words, didn't reach for the right places. He simply held her hand gently, steadily, not completely silent. And when she woke up, she didn't ask how long he'd been there. She just whispered, "I knew you were here the whole time." No grand gestures, no emotional performance. And yet, it was one of the most intimate moments I've ever seen. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Reflect on the blessing of being alive, of feeling, of loving, in love." What a woman truly longs for is not skilled hands, but a quiet mind, a steady presence, someone who doesn't show up to impress or to take, but just to be there, fully, softly, honestly. Have you ever been next to a woman, in total silence, not speaking, not touching, not trying, and somehow felt closer to her than ever before? If you have, you already know what I'm talking about. If not, then maybe today is the day to begin that journey. A journey into places no one ever teaches you about. Because this isn't technique, it's maturity. It's not something you memorize. It's something you grow into by softening, by slowing down, by finally listening. I'm not here to talk to you about the places that make her react in minutes. I want to guide you through 4 places, not just physical, but 4 gateways into her heart. And if you learn how to reach those places through presence, through stoic stillness, through well-timed silence and gentle attention, you won't just gain her trust, you'll make her feel safe inside who you are. Because true intimacy doesn't begin with the hands, it begins with the heart, with the way you show up, and with how you make a woman feel like she doesn't have to earn love to deserve it. 1. The eyes, the land of trust. Before a woman lets you touch her hand, she will look at you. Before she lets you take a single step closer, she will study your eyes. And in that quiet, fleeting moment, she isn't just looking, she's listening. Listening to the things you don't say, to the emotions you don't express, to the silence that reveals more about your presence than words ever could. We live in a world where our eyes are constantly occupied, busy with screens, with notifications, with things that don't really matter. That's why a real gaze, a steady, present, meaningful gaze, has become rare. But to a woman, that kind of gaze can mean everything. It's not seductive, it's not performed, it's not technical, it's simply a gaze that's there. A gaze that demands nothing, controls nothing, expects nothing in return. A gaze that says, right now, there is nowhere else I'd rather be. As if, in that very moment, nothing in the world matters more than her, and your presence in front of her. Stoic philosophy calls this kind of awareness inner stillness, when your mind no longer clings to the past or rushes toward the future, when it stops seeking, stops judging, stops fixing, and just arrives, fully, quietly, gently, and in that kind of presence, Your gaze becomes something more. It becomes the very first door into trust. I once heard a man share a simple but profound story. It was an ordinary evening. He was cooking dinner in the kitchen when his wife came up behind him. She didn't say a word. She just stood there and looked. There was no visible emotion, no expectation, no anger, no request. And yet, he felt something in that look. So he stopped, turned around, and met her gaze. There was no pressure, no need to say anything, no need to understand. Just two people, after 10 years together, suddenly meeting each other again, through the eyes. That night, she leaned on his shoulder and whispered, "Today, I felt like I'm still loved." He was surprised. She smiled softly, said nothing more, then quietly added, "Because your eyes were still here." There are men who spend a lifetime next to a woman, but never truly see her. They talk, they live together, they raise a family, but somewhere along the way, their eyes stopped showing up. They stopped pausing to notice. They stopped slowing down to feel. They look only to react, to assess, to plan what's next. And women, they always feel that absence. Women don't need you to look often. They need you to look with presence, not quickly, not fearfully, not as a passing glance. A gaze that is deep, not to control, not to possess, but to say, "I'm still here, and I still see you." Not your body, not your performance, but your whole self. So next time she speaks to you, try this. Don't respond right away. Don't reach for the right thing to say. Don't try to interpret every word. Just stop, look, slowly, silently, as if your gaze is the only moment of peace she's had all day, as if, in that moment, just being seen that way is enough for her to feel that she matters, that she's worthy, that she's loved. Because sometimes what opens a woman's heart isn't how you touched her, it's whether your eyes ever truly stayed. 2. The hands, the message of subtlety. Your hands were not born to grasp or to satisfy something rushed. They weren't made to take, but to send quiet messages, soft, slow, and full of understanding. Not everything should be conquered. Some things are meant to be held gently, like a whisper only the skin knows how to speak. In her world, not every place is meant to be touched. There are parts of her body that seem unimportant, but that's where her deepest feelings live. A soft graze across her wrist when she's searching for something. A quiet touch on her back as you pass by. A gentle squeeze of her hand for no reason at all. These moments may seem small, but they speak louder than most words ever could. Through nothing but the language of presence. Seneca once wrote, "A man who cannot control his physical desire is never truly free." And I would add, a man who touches with respect is the only one who can truly touch a woman's heart. Because among the hundreds of touches she's received in her life, very few have been delicate enough to make her feel truly heard. We've become too used to going straight for what's obvious. Too many men rush toward the places society tells them are sexy, while forgetting the parts of her that actually carry the feeling of being loved. No one teaches you that the small of her back, tired after a long day, is the place that needs the most care. No one says that a gentle touch on the back of her neck, while she's focused on her work, might speak louder than 1,000 words. The secret doesn't lie in technique. It lies in how you approach her. The way an artist approaches a priceless painting, not with urgency, not with assumptions, not with the same brushstroke for every canvas, but with presence in the eyes and intention in the hands, watching how every color responds. When you touch, don't focus on the body, focus on the feeling. Don't think about what comes next. Think about right now. How is she breathing? How still is her silence? And then you'll begin to notice Every touch becomes a quiet sentence, as if each fingertip carries a message she's been waiting her whole life to hear. I see you, even when you say nothing, even when you ask for nothing. Try it tonight. You don't need anything grand. You don't need a clearly intimate moment. Just pass by her and rest your hand lightly on her shoulder, gently, not to trigger desire, but to say, I'm here. Or when she's working, let your hand slowly move from her shoulder down to her elbow. No technique, no pattern, just the tenderness of a man who has grown. And then let that one small gesture speak the rest, because sometimes what truly touches needs no explanation. You might think that moving a woman requires something grand, but sometimes it's the quietest act of care that she'll remember for the rest of her life, not because it was seductive, but because it made her feel safe, not because it was skillful, but because it made her feel understood without having to say a word. In Stoic philosophy, restraint doesn't mean suppression. It means knowing how to do less in order to feel more. It means touching just enough without overshadowing your presence. And it is in that just enough where you create the kind of intimacy no one else can offer, the feeling of being loved without ever having to earn it. 3. The whisper, the gateway to her imagination. There's a place on a woman's body that no one sees, but it's closer to her mind than anything else. Her ears, and sometimes a whisper, offered at just the right moment, light as a breeze, can reach deeper than any familiar touch, not because of how loud it is, but because of the space. It creates a space safe enough for her to be entirely herself, even if only for a few seconds. Many men believe that whispering is meant to be seductive, but the truth is, the words that reach a woman's heart most aren't seductive at all. They're the ones that carry presence. In those moments, your voice doesn't need to be loud or clever or even long. It just needs to be real. A whisper is not meant to possess her mind, but to soothe it, not to make her tremble, but to help her let her guard down. The ears are close to the mind, but the mind only opens when it feels safe, and you can't force a door open by knocking too hard. You have to stand there, gently, quietly, patiently, until she chooses to open it herself. And the right whisper, offered in the right moment, might be the softest knock she's been waiting to hear. Picture this: you move close to her, not rushing, not invading. You lean in near her ear, while no one's watching. No drama, no plan, just a whisper meant to make someone tired finally breathe again. I'm here, not to take anything from you, just to let you be fully yourself. A sentence like that, short, simple, could be the one thing she's waited so long to hear. Or maybe it's something even simpler. You don't have to be strong right now. Just being next to me is enough. A line with no declaration of love, and yet one that melts through the armor she wears every day. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." And you know what? The best whispers don't come from a brain that knows a lot, but from a heart that's learned how to listen. Sometimes, if you just listen to her long enough, really long enough, you'll understand what she truly needs. And when you do, you won't have to say much, because every word you speak will land exactly where it's meant to, as if it was written for her and no one else. The most powerful whispers aren't meant to convince. They only exist for one reason: connection. A kind of connection that doesn't demand, doesn't overwhelm, doesn't make her pull away. It's light, but powerful enough to open a door, the door to her imagination, to her sense of being understood, and most of all, to her feeling of safety. Tonight, say less. Don't try to come up with perfect lines. Just wait until she's tired, Step closer. Don't do anything else. Just whisper, in a voice so small, it feels like if you spoke any louder, the moment would shatter, and say not what you want to say, but what she needs to hear. One well-timed whisper might be your first step, not just into her thoughts, but into her memory. And if you're truly present, you'll understand. You don't need to say much. Just say less and mean it. 4. The mind, the most sensitive place. And once you've learned to pause at the ears, the gateway closest to her mind, where a whisper can open the door to safety, it's time to go deeper. No more words, no more voice, just quiet footsteps on a journey toward the most hidden part of her, a place no hand can reach, only presence can, only imagination can. 2 bodies can be close in a matter of seconds, but 2 minds, they need a journey, a quiet one, unhurried, unannounced, like a guest standing at an unlocked door, yet never assuming the right to enter, just standing there, patient, present, silently waiting. Most men spend their lives chasing places they can touch with their hands, but women, they hide what truly matters in a place no one can touch. Imagination. That's where emotions are conceived, where memories are stored, and where love quietly begins. Not from physical contact, but from a glance that sees deeply, a silence that truly listens, a question that stirs the mind. She may not remember how your first hug felt, but she will never forget the moment you looked into her eyes and asked, "Has anything ever made you feel loved without anyone ever touching you?" That's not a seductive line. It's a whispered request for permission to step into her inner world, a world not everyone gets invited into. And if she goes silent for a few seconds, it's not because she's shy, it's because that question just unlocked a door she thought would remain sealed forever. The door to fragile things she never had words for. In that space, she doesn't need someone who understands it all. She needs someone who stays, even when he understands nothing. That day, amid swords and sleepless nights, Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The mind is the only place you can truly control, and also the place where the deepest kind of love can grow." He wasn't talking about cold logic. He meant a deep inner space, where one small thought, if planted in silence and watered with sincerity, can grow into something unbreakable. Women don't need a man who guesses their thoughts. They need a man who creates space for them to breathe, to dream, to be vulnerable without fear of being judged. And that kind of space can't be rushed. It asks for presence. No pressure, no goal, no control. Tonight, if you're near her, don't rush to touch. Let your voice warm the air. Let your gaze calm her breathing, and let silence settle between you, like a soft blanket over parts of her memory that still ache. In that silence, don't try to fix anything. Don't offer solutions. Just be there, as a quiet promise. I don't need you to be perfect to find you beautiful. There's one thing most men don't realize. Deep connection isn't born from trying to understand. It comes from not leaving while you still don't. Because sometimes, what makes a woman open up isn't grand gestures, but the kind of stillness deep enough to make her feel safe, even with what she can't yet say. You'll never reach her mind if you move too fast. But if you pause at the right time, stay quiet in the right moment, and remain even when you haven't been invited in, she might open up, not out of emotion, but from peace. And when a woman chooses to open, not because she needs to be filled, but because she feels whole enough to share, then you're not just trusted, you're held, because the man who touches a woman's imagination is the one who knows some connections only appear when you stop trying to connect. Some doors only open when you knock softly. And some love stories only begin when you're quiet enough to hear the whisper inside her, a whisper never meant for those in a hurry. You've just walked with me through 4 places, ones that don't exist on any map, but live clearly inside a woman's heart. 4 places you cannot see, cannot touch with your hands, but if you're quiet enough, you can feel them with your mind. They are not places to conquer. They are places you are invited into only when she feels safe, when she no longer needs to be anything other than herself. Maybe, at first, you came here to understand women, but if you've made it this far, something greater may have happened. The moment you realize this wasn't just a journey to understand her, it was a journey back to yourself, in a calmer, more grounded form, because a woman might be drawn to your eyes, your voice, your words, but she only begins to trust you when your presence holds no harm. No one teaches you that. No one asks you to do it. But if you can, if not from strategy, but because your soul is ready, she'll know, not with her logic, but with something deeper. Real intimacy is not when you take something from her. It's when you help her feel kept, without effort, without rules, without having to prove she deserves it. Because when a woman is allowed to be fully herself, without pressure, without comparison, then you're no longer just someone she's drawn to. You become a place. And maybe, just maybe, that's the place she's been searching for all along. If something I shared today made you pause, made your heart slow for even a few seconds, made you feel like maybe you want to be softer, listen more, move slower, instead of trying to impress, then I believe this video reached the right person. Share it not to spread a philosophy, but to gift it to a man you respect, a man who, if touched the right way, might become a safe place for someone else. Someone learning how to love, not by holding on, but by letting go. And if you ever find yourself sitting next to a woman one quiet evening, try this. Don't touch. Don't ask much. Don't search for something deep to say. Just sit. Be there. Gently. Not needing to be understood, but absolutely refusing to leave. Because sometimes, when you do nothing, is when she feels most deeply touched. And maybe, in that quiet moment, you'll realize you're no longer chasing love, because you've become the place where love comes to rest. And if that feels true, then there's nothing more that needs to be said.